Hello, welcome back to my channel. And for today, our topic will be about how God answers questions in prayers. Okay, there are three things that we need to consider when we are anticipating God's answers to our questions. First is that God only answers through His words. Yes, therefore, it's imperative for us to study the Bible because God only answers through Bible verses and lessons from biblical stories. Second is circumstance, which means that everything else will be favorable for you. For example, you're looking for a job, you easily pass the test, the interview, and so on because God is already aligning His plans for you. Third is God's peace or peace of mind. This is beyond human comprehension. So you just have this God's peace. Even if the situation is quite difficult for you, still you are calm because you have God's peace. So these are the three things that we need to consider. Let me give you an example. First is I was looking for a boarding house somewhere in Mandaluyong because I just resigned from my job. And of all the places that I visited, I found this one boarding house that has these Bible verses on the wall in the living room. That is already a telltale sign that this is the place God wanted me to have. Second is when it comes to circumstance, I got lots of benefits from this place: free Wi-Fi, television, telephone, and refrigerator. So that's it, the circumstance. And I have God's peace. I also had the benefit to be staying or has the privilege to choose the lower bunk of the bed, lower bunk of the double deck. Therefore, this is the place to be. So I chose this boarding house. Second example is that time I was afraid of applying for any job because I had a bad experience from my previous job. I was discriminated due to mental illness, but hopefully, I have fully forgiven them. It's still a work in progress. Sometimes I still get mad thinking about it, but I just prayed and just surrender it to God. So I was afraid of applying for a job that time. I prayed about it, and God answered this prayer of mine. I saw this notebook from a friend, and it says, "For God has not given us the spirit of fear," and so on. So God is telling me that this fear that I have right now, it didn't come from God, didn't come from Him. And so I just have to surrender everything, even this fear, to Him because He is my source of strength. When I already survived that fear by the God's grace, I was already eyeing to apply on this specific school, but I'm not really sure. I have to wait for his response. And so I saw this biblical verse that says, "Be still and know that I am God." Because of that, I waited for a few weeks if I really should apply for this job. It ended up that I didn't really have to give my resume there. Only God knows if the people working there will be nice to you, if the manager, the supervisor will be a follower of God. So that's for my protection to avoid, meeting people like what I met from my previous job. Third example I can give you is that I was already planning to just spend my Christmas alone Last year, I also spent it alone because my mother needed to go to Mindanao that time. But God, I saw this one. It says, "In God we trust." So I have to trust God that He will make my Christmas nice and memorable. Although I wasn't really expecting much, but it's fine with me if I just spend it inside my boarding house. And just a few hours later, my a close friend of mine who used to be my board mate in Makati texted me and said, I should go to their place and spend Christmas with them. So, in other words, I spent the Christmas with them. I had fun. I enjoyed my Christmas with my former board mate. So that's cool. Next example is that, there. I saw this Bible verse because that time I was thinking if I can get my unemployment benefit since my separation from the previous company wasn't really good. One of the requirements of unemployment benefit is that you have to prove that your separation from the previous company is due to involuntary means. All I can remember is that I put in my resignation letter that there was harsh treatment and discrimination, so on. But I'm not really sure if I can get the unemployment benefit. I was just, checking if I can. So I sent this application to SSS, and voila, I got the unemployment benefit. But I have to wait for 3 weeks. And I saw this message that nothing is impossible for God. So He reminded me that what is so hard for Him. Thank God about that unemployment benefit. It helped me sustain as I look for a new job. It's really hard for me because I resigned in the middle of the school year, and not all schools will look for teachers in October. Usually they hire or look for interviews, potential workers via interviews in February, March. So it's really hard. Next is my father is sick of stroke. He is suffering right now. But in my prayer, I have to, trust God about the situation. So I saw this one says God is good all the time. I have to remember the story of Job. It's always for God's glory, even if we have to suffer some sickness. I also saw this one. Fear not, for I have redeemed you, and so on. That time, I'm really having a hard time mentally, emotionally, because I still have to, of course, look for my next job. And He promised me that He will be with me wherever I go. He will be in the midst of my trials. Next is that I already have a problem with finances because I have to pay my bills, and I was expecting only 2,000 or less as my back pay. But lo and behold, I got more than 8,000, almost 9,000 back pay. And before I received that from my previous school, I saw this signage from a jeepney that says God provides. So that was a day before I got my almost 9K back pay. And then before Christmas, I was already getting desperate because it's really difficult for me to get a job since, like I said, it's in the middle of the school year. So God showed this message through a woman I stumbled upon in a mall, and it says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, not to harm you, but to prosper you, to give you hope and a future." So I'm happy about seeing that message. It enlightened me about God's promises, because when God promises, He keeps. Next is that this one, I was in my prayer, I was already uh, thinking if I will get the best job God has planned for me, or more on like doubting if I should still pursue this. And I saw this from a message from my friend, from my boarding mate, and it says here that all you need is just the size of faith that sized as mustard seed, and everything will be possible for you. Size as a mustard seed. Okay, and lastly, I had a teaching demo with this specific school, but I won't mention it. They did not call me back for the final interview, so I felt really bad. But I saw this. Of course, I prayed about my situation and what I experienced to God, and God reassured me. He said, "God is good." So whatever that happens to us, even if they're bad or something that would be considered dismal, always remember that God is good. Therefore, He has best plans laid for us. Now, for other prayers that God didn't answer, or God is silent, you have to consider that the secrets of the Lord belong to the Lord. And for those secrets that He revealed to us will be for us forever. There you go. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, you can message me here. I have my name here. If not, you can also go to different pastors of different born again Christians churches. I will also recommend that you check on CCF. That's the church that I visit, that I support. We have different branches there. We have Ortigas, Makati, Cebu, and so on. So God bless all of you. Thank you so much again. Have a great day. Bye.